Hi everybody, welcome to YSCong Driving, and we are actually going for a short evening drive in a very nice area, lots of greenery in an SUV, and this one just happens to be the Toyota CHR, which is on loan to us for testing. But now that we are in an SUV, let's just talk about SUVs, yeah? And what is happening in the world is that there's a worldwide shift towards SUVs. I remember many years ago, maybe about 10 years ago, when there was the fuel crisis, there was a move away from SUVs, because those days the SUVs were going very powerful, very big engine, and they drink a lot of fuel. But since then, the fuel prices have dropped, and then what has happened is there is again a shift towards SUVs. But this time, maybe the shift is not to the large and more powerful SUVs, but to the smaller SUVs. So in Malaysia, we also see a big shift to SUVs, and estimated worldwide there's about a 20% growth year on year. So my rough guesstimate, in Malaysia, the SUV market may be as high as maybe 250,000 units for next year. So there's going to be a lot of SUVs, and of course the people who make SUVs in Malaysia are of course Honda with the CR-V, and also they have the HR-V, which is the smaller one, and these are two-wheel drive versions. For the CR-V, they have two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive. And then there is also, of course, Proton with the X70 that is doing so well, and they're going to introduce the X50. Then, of course, there is also the Hyundai and Kia models with the Tucson and the Sorento and the Sportage. So there are a lot of SUVs. On top of that, there's also the Mercedes GLA, GLC, GLE. So the Mercedes GL class is also a new entrant for the past 2-3 years. So they've started introducing the GL series, and that is also catching on. And of course, Mazda also has a very complete range, from the Mazda CX3, then they have the CX30, CX5, which has been around for quite a while, and then of course now they have the newly launched CX8 and also the CX9. So Mazda has a very comprehensive range to cover all kinds of requirements. And also Nissan have got the X-Trail. So just about everybody has got a SUV, including Toyota, which has the CHR. But the CHR is a CBU, and well, it's not so expensive now, considering that the Mazda CX30 is selling at 140,000 to 160,000, and the CHR is at 150,000. Okay, but of course the main point we're talking about today is actually when we went to the Tokyo Motor Show recently, about a couple of months ago. We saw this Daihatsu, and of course now we know it's called the Rocky, or otherwise known as the D55L. Okay, now that is a small sized, or rather compact sized SUV with a 1-liter turbocharged engine, and it's small. It's only 3.995 mm, or rather 3,995 mm long. That means under 4 meters, and also it is I think the width is 1695 mm. So it's a very small SUV, but the shape of it is nice and squarish, so it has a lot of interior space. Okay, so we suspected that could be coming to Malaysia, because, well, you can expect that Perodua would be looking at introducing an SUV because of the growing demand. Okay, now Perodua having an SUV is not something new. They actually introduced the Nautica, and the Nautica some years back. Of course, that was under CBU, and then that was selling for about 90,000 ringgit. and so it didn't take on very well. I think they brought in one batch of 200 units and that was it. So we know that SUVs that are small selling for 100,000 is not going to hack it. Same with the other one that brought in another vehicle. The Toyota Rush was selling about 190 odd thousand, and it didn't work either, and that was just a rear wheel drive. Then we have the other brand, Suzuki, that brought in the Jimny, which looked very nice, but asking for 90 over thousand ringgit, it was also a failed project from the word go. Of course, when Proton brought in the X70, the pricing was very attractive, from 99,000 to 123,000. Of course, we know that there was some kind of subsidy by the Malaysian government to help them get this product off the ground. With a SUV that's about the size of the CRV and selling for about 40 to 50,000 ringgit cheaper, at the lowest level, and about 30,000 ringgit cheaper at the highest level, it sure took off very well. Having said that, see the Hyundai Tucson, which is very close in terms of power and size and performance to the X70. The Tucson was selling for about 20,000 ringgit more, 20,000 ringgit more, and so price played a very big factor. And then, of course, there is the X50 that's supposed to come around the middle of this year or in August, and the X50 is mooted to be around between 70 to 90,000 ringgit. Now, X50 is actually only slightly smaller. It's about 4 to 5 inches shorter than the X70, and there are two engine versions. You either have a 1.5 turbo or a 1.0 turbo, which develops very good horsepower, and there's a 7-speed gearbox. So these are of course just two-wheel drive, and if it is sold between 70 to 90,000, it looks very attractive. I'm not sure if the 1 liter will make it, but if it's a 1.5 liter turbo, 70 to 90,000, it will sweep the market and it will cause a big impact. So at this moment, we don't know what engine they're going to bring in, but we know that it's going to create some wave. Now, add to that the thought of Perodua bringing in a 1 liter, a slightly smaller car, and it's SUV, and its turbocharged is about 98 horsepower. It has a CVT, of course, and I think because it has a CVT and because it has a less powerful engine, and Daihatsu is good in making these small cars, I think the price will be quite competitive too. Although I don't expect it to sell below 70,000, but of course it's CKD, they might be able to swing it. So that means potentially, I'm just making a guess, I'm not saying it as a fact. Can you imagine if we have SUVs that are sold between 70,000 to 90,000, and they are 1 liter or 1.5 liter, and is offered to the public who are actually hungry for SUV now? Can you imagine what impact it's going to have on the market? We're going to have a lot of SUVs running around. So, what's going to happen to the other brands like Mazda and Mercedes and Honda and Nissan with the X-Trail? Well, I think it's going to cause quite a bit of scene, or rather quite a big impact on all these, and of course then marketing has to be more innovative, and people have to work harder just to get the sale. But having said that, at a time when Camry, you just compare the Camry to the C-Class, Camry at 150,000, C-Class at 250,000. Well, they sold more Camrys than they did C-Class, but of course the people would buy there are people who would buy the Mercedes over the Camry. It's all branding, it's about product quality, it's about, not to say that the Camry is no good, but it's the branding, okay, the brand image. So brand image will play a part, and the thing that brand image, or what can overcome brand image is of course the price. Okay, if you know that you can pay 150,000 and get a car that is as good as a 250,000 ringgit car, of course you have a choice. Yeah, if you have the money, you go for the more expensive car. But it goes without saying that the more expensive cars will have less buyers, because it's just like the hierarchy, of wealth in the country, where there are less people who are richer than and there are more people who are average. Okay, and so if the vehicle price is competitive, it will get more sales. So it's a question now actually for the SUV market for 2020. Although things are not clear now, it's about who can provide a more affordable SUV. Now both the Proton and I'm not quite sure, but I think they are getting some kind of assistance, yeah, because national car status and all that, and Perodua get some kind of preferential treatment, but I don't know the details. So it's a question of who can offer a better SUV at a more competitive price. Okay, so that's the interesting thing. And of course next week we will be seeing the Proton X50 CKD, which is coming. We don't know the price. We don't know if the price will be the same or more or less, but we know that there are some changes to the transmission. For a start, the transmission runs 7-speed DCT. Okay, and that is the interesting thing. And that one, the DCT, is of course a more advanced gearbox than the automatic transmission, and with 7 speeds there is also the potential of better fuel economy. But of course with DCT there is always the issue of reliability, as some other brands have had some experience. So we don't know. There are many DCT makers. There are DCTs and there are DCTs. So we don't know much about that. But anyway, well, most car makers will do good research and testing and make sure that the cars are good. So we won't say anything until we get to test the cars. Of course, even when we are testing the cars, we really don't do long-term testing, so we can't tell you anything. But hopefully everything will be good. So insofar as the SUV market is concerned, it's going to be very, very interesting. The impact is not only going to impact on the SUVs, it will also impact the cars in the price range between 70 to 90,000 ringgit, and that would be on the Honda Jazz, on the Honda City, and also the Toyota Vios and the Yaris. This is the same effect as what the Honda HR-V had on all the C segment cars and B segment plus cars. Yeah, remember the HR-V came in, and that vehicle actually was a game changer, and that changed the market scenario. Everybody started going for the HR-V, and so the brands like Hyundai and Peugeot and some other cars suffered because of this new SUV that was available at the range of between 99,000 to 120,000. So with the X50 and the Perodua SUV, and we are looking at prices between maybe 65,000 ringgit for the lowest spec, all the way to maybe 90 or 100,000 for the highest spec of these compact SUVs. That means the people who would otherwise want to buy a Honda City or a Toyota Vios or a Yaris, they would have another option for them to consider, and this will also impact the market to a great extent. So if these two come in at a very low price, that is another aspect of the impact that we would be looking at. Okay then, thanks for watching, and we hope you enjoyed our video. And if you like it, well, please subscribe if you haven't already, and also share with your friends. And till we meet again, bye bye.